Okay, hello everyone. As I was saying that our topic is, or my topic is basically integration testing for microservices with Docker and test containers. And I'm Shahjada Talukdar, senior software engineer at mobile.de. It is in Germany and we call it mobile.de in Deutsch or in German. It was a part of eBay a few months ago and now acquired by Adevinta. And this is me. I was a metalhead before, and now in the right side, this is my current workstation where I actually work. And I'm originally from Bangladesh, and I have been living in Germany for last 5 years. Okay, so now the point is, it is an online conference. Before we could meet each other, but as it is online, I'm just sending some virtual hug to everyone. And yeah, we will talk about integration testing, right? So let's try to dig into that slowly. So what is basically integration testing? Integration testing is when we integrate two or more units. What we mean by that, let's say we have one service which is probably talking to some database, right? So when we do that integration testing, maybe we actually go through that network layer and the app layer and also touch the database layer, so that we actually do the whole path of integration in that integration testing. And of course, before integration testing, we know about like unit testing, right? So which is not the dependency part. It is only kind of a simplest possible unit what we could do under unit testing. But as always, we have a thing to say, right, that we have already done 100% unit test coverage. Probably we are happy, but is this so in reality? Maybe no, right? Because if we do unit testing and not integration or end to end, then maybe our scenario will be something like that. Like this picture, like all other units are working fine, but when we try to combine everything, maybe this will be the scenario. And then as we are talking about integration testing and unit, we know we have a very famous testing pyramid, like some unit at the bottom and then integration in the middle and E2E in the top, right? So we can see the most part here in the graph actually covers that unit, and integration has like less priority in this testing pyramid. But that testing pyramid was actually there from long ago, and we know that in this web or this like world, technology world, this few years is actually very big time, I would say. So also we know Martin Fowler, and on Martin Fowler's blog, he actually said something like that, like there should be a combination based on team size or the budget or money, and then we should decide like what should be the more preferred way, or what we should do in our testing strategy. And then just a few years ago, Kensi Dors, his name is Kensi Dorsey, actually merged these two diagram, which is the traditional pyramid and also the diagram what Martin Fowler gave. He merged both and tried to come up with this thing which he called testing trophy. So here integration is in the middle, right, and has the more priority than unit. And for from that conceptual or theoretical point of view, I mean, if we want to come to our real world, our day-to-day world as developers or engineers, we we can ask like how many of us had issues after joining a new team and running making environments. I cannot see the hands right now because it is online, but I'm definitely one of them, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who will watch it now or later, maybe in YouTube. They will actually agree with me that they also had a lot of problems making the environments in their new service or new team work. And also from that point of view, then comes to the next thing. So when as a developer I try to run the test or integration test specifically for a service, then there can be a lot of things. There can be dependencies like databases, it can be SQL, NoSQL, cache servers like Redis servers, message queues, right? So it can be Kafka or a RabbitMQ or something like that. So it is like a lot of things coming with the service, right? So just if I run the test on my local host, I need to make sure all the services are also available in my local host. So I will probably do a lot of reading on the readme or on the websites that how to install those things, and these are very sometimes can be very complicated as well. Also, the next part is I'm running on my local host, that's a part. Then what about the ci? Because when we run the test on the ci, it can be Jenkins or something, then we know that we also need to make sure that those services like components like database or cache servers also needs to be available in that ci pipeline somehow. It can be remote or it can be in there, so that the at least the application code can actually connect to them, which is also very tricky sometimes. So now the part of the test containers. So test containers actually can be a lifesaver here, and it can be actually used to save solve this problem. So we can have a self-contained external dependencies with the test code. What I mean by that, like a lot of people can say, okay, we normally do like we have a script or something which we just execute and the servers are booting up, and then we also run the test. Then these are two different things. So we are doing one command for booting up or running up the external services, and another command for actually running the test, right? It can be any technology. It can be Java, Node.js, or .NET, or whatever we say. So the concept is same for anything. So but for with test containers, we actually don't have to do such ways. We can connect everything in the testing way, so that one test command is enough to do everything, like booting up the services and then running the test, what we used to do before, let's say with Java JUnit or Node.js jest or something, right? Or Mocha. So this is the official website of test containers, and of course you all will go there and try to read and see more. But also we will see a full phase, a small service with the test code. So we will go deeper in the demo phase within a minute. So the thing is, for this talk, I actually try to simulate this real life scenario so that we actually can see that in action. So let's say we have a requirements in our team. I work in a team, we all work in team, and we have a requirements. We need to build something, and we need to build a service as well for that requirements to make happen. So let's say this is the diagram of a high level diagram of the service what we are doing. So we have a post, right? And this is the service layer, and then in the service layer we are just saving the data in the MongoDB, like inserting the data there. And also after inserting the data in MongoDB, when it is successful, we are also doing a write or set in the Redis server. And when we do the get operation or get HTTP call, then the service is not going to the Mongo database. The service is going to the Redis and getting the data from Redis and returning to the client. So I just try to simulate this service in a way that we have Mongo and Redis both there, and we can just test it. The whole architecture is only for this sample application. And then okay, let's see some quick code first, that what that service is doing. So I think we all can see my terminal. I'm just running the application. The application I wrote in Node.js, but the concept is same for any kind of technologies. And also the good part is test containers is available in Java, Node.js, .NET, and more. So the service is very simple. It has two, let's say, health and ping endpoint, which is very simple. And we also have some get endpoint, which is s/user, and if we do get right now, there is nothing because it is just running right now. And if I do a post just to create the data, it is let's assume this is a user service. So I'm just saving or trying to save the data of user which has name and address, right? And then I'm getting success true. And for my localhost service, I'm actually using MongoDB from the MongoDB cloud, which is called MongoDB Atlas. And if we also see the collections, then we can see we have a few collections, because I was also saving it, testing it just before the demo. So let's assume that we have a latest one, which is actually close to this time, something like this one. Okay, so the database is working, but the database connection is working though it is in a remote place, right? It is in the cloud. But what will happen if I try to run the integration test, right? And then the database connection is gone, or the somehow the network is not there, or somehow the cloud server is down. It can happen in a real life scenario, right? So the test will fail because the connection string or database connection was not stable or could not connect, and the test will fail. And this is a flaky test, right? Because we cannot test this in a stable manner maybe. So that's why maybe when we run the test, we can have something like a self-contained Mongo database and self-contained Redis, so that we even don't have to connect to the original production database, right? Or it can be staging database or a staging Redis server as well. So now we can see like what happens. So there was a post right now. Now if I do the get again, so I can see it is coming also from my local Redis server. So I have Mongo database in a cloud environment and Redis in my local machine. So there are two dependencies in two places. And if I somehow close this connection, for example, if I just go to this network access and delete it, I mean, there is a white list. So if I delete this, so, and now if I try again, I will run the server again. Or I mean, or maybe if we just do the connection wrong in the code base, then it will fail, right? So let's try. So if I try to do a post now, okay, so this is still saved, I think, for 1 day, but we can simulate this scenario actually from the config file. I have a config file, and here let's say we just change this something like this, just to make sure that somehow the server is down. So I will run the server again, and it is not even working because the server is down and it cannot connect, right? So the application cannot be connected. Also, if I run the test, for example, if I run the test, the test will also fail. So let's see. Maybe not here, the test will not fail because I have already test containers connected. So that's the magic of it. So let's go with that uh, test and test containers. So first I'm running the test. It will take few seconds. So we can see here I have a connection string and also self-contained Redis connection string. So we can see the test is failing. So test is passing. So how the test is passing, right? Because the connection string was wrong, and even we could not start our application or service in my local host. So we can now see how this can even happen. So as I was saying that we are using test containers. So I think we all can see my screen. So and we all can see my code as well. I think the font is enough. Uh, so from the test containers, there is a concept called generic container, or API called generic container. So we can actually tell we need Mongo container for our dependency, right? So I can pass Mongo, and this latest is actually the tag of Docker, and in the background or in the behind it is using Docker images and from Docker Hub. So when we say Mongo and latest, it should be the same how the Docker actually gives their names. So as we know, Mongo is the official Docker image, and we can actually see that we are creating a generic container, and we are also constructing this database string from this container data. And then I'm actually adding that database string in this mongo.db.connection.str environment variable, which is also available in my config. So if I now go to my config, here we can see mongo.db.con.str, right? So basically when I said that in that test environment, it is also actually setting that environment for the whole application for executing, right? So that is mongodb. And now we can say, what about Redis? So for Redis, I have another module or class in Java. So we can actually say Redis with latest tag. So that means like this will actually pull the image for the Redis. And also here I'm doing or assigning Redis host and Redis port from that container, what we are just building in the runtime, in the test runtime flow. Actually it is not outside of the flow, because when we saw that when I ran npm run test, or it can be some like any technologies, let's say for Java it can be with Maven, or for .NET anything similar, so that when we run we can see that this MongoDB is actually also booting up. And now if we also go to our Docker desktop application, here we can see this Mongo and Redis, and these things are actually uh, pulled from our like Docker Hub repository. So that's a really nice thing to do, that I don't have to do it manually, and I'm doing everything in one command, and that command is doing everything for me, the rest for me. So now then, after pulling all the images, it can be even, let's say, massive queues, like it can be Kafka also, because maybe Kafka is needed for our service. So in that global uh, setup, so I'm just initializing those modules, which is Mongo and Redis, and then the test code actually has that connection string available. So now let's go to the test for a second. So let's say we have some integration test like this. So we are actually hitting our ping endpoint, which doesn't need any third party dependencies. It is just like a application layer, but we can still test like if ping is returning pong, right? So it is also doing that network layer testing, which is also one kind of integration testing. And the next one is, I'm actually doing a real post, how I tried to do in my Postman, that this is my data, and then do a post to the endpoint, and then after posting, check that status code is actually 201 or not. And why 201? Because if I now go to our user controller, so we can see here that in the code we actually returned 201 from the code. And also, as I was saying, that after saving to the Mongo database, so it is actually doing the Mongo operation or Mongo inserting, and then I'm also saving that data to the Redis. So here basically the data is saved to the Redis, and when everything successful, we are returning 201 in the response. And if anything fails, of course it will return 500. So we can see that it is not going to the catch or to the 500 section. It is returning 201, which is a very cool thing, though I completely disconnected my Mongo database from here. Also, we can do another thing. Let's say we also have some Redis, right? So normally when I run the application in localhost, this process and for the environment variables is not available. So let's say if we also try to make it wrong, just to make sure that the Redis is also taking the environment variables from the test or containers or test runner. If I run the test again and see, and that even my connection string is wrong, or to simulate the scenario that the server is down, for example Mongo and Redis server is down, still this Redis server will boot up from the test containers, and Mongo will be boot up from the test containers, and these both connection string will be used for the whole application to execute its operations. So we can see our 4 tests actually passed. So that's like the cool thing here, that even everything is down in your local host, or it can be also something wrong in the CI, that CI servers cannot actually access the external database or Redis server, but the test will pass in both localhost and CI servers. The reason is it is self-contained, and the benefit of self-contained we can see instantly right now, right? and and of course it is more reliable, because we are testing in a very easy manner. We are not thinking about what happens there, and this will also give the same kind of feeling in any kind of environment. So if I run in Windows, if I run in Mac, if I run in CI or whatever, it is, as it is self-contained, the expectation will be same. So there will be less chances of flaky test, there will be less chances of breaking the test. I know that sometimes end-to-end or integration test is can be hard to run, but with test containers this will be really life-saving thing. So let's see maybe a little bit on the test container website, because as I was saying that there is a generic container. If I go there here, so there is a generic container API where we can actually put any kind of Docker image what we need. It can be Mongo, Redis, or any kind of message queue. It can be MySQL or anything, even or Oracle. But there are also some built-in actually stuff like built-in modules already. So here we can see in the website the examples in Java, but the concept is same for any kind of technologies. So let's say if we try to see some uh, RabbitMQ maybe. Okay, let's go in the quick start. So here we can see they also used generic container, and there is also another thing like a ready-made SQL or third-party dependency stuff. So if I just quickly search with, let's say, test containers SQL, MySQL container. So this will actually give us that MySQL thing, and this is this is also something that we can see here in the modules. There are a lot of modules like MySQL, because sometimes it is hard to find here. So we can also search if that container is available, right? We can actually go and we can also read the documents to know what kind of database or third-party services is available as a built-in thing. But if that is not available in the built-in, of course there is the generic container mode. We can just use generic container API and make it work, as I also did for my sample. Yeah. So let's see like what can be the cons, right? Because as we saw a lot of pros, because there are a lot of benefits, right? So from that benefit there can be of course some cons as well. Like what if that Docker hub is down, right? So if Docker hub is down, then the test will fail. But there is a very less chance for that, right? Because uh, the probability of availability of Docker hub should be very high. So we can still discard that. Maybe we can say that it will take a little bit longer That's true, because it needs to pull the images and then run the or execute the test, right? It is a bit time consuming than unit test, but of course it is a lot better than unit test, because we are actually doing the test and touching all the dependencies what we have. It can be MySQL or Redis or Mongo, right? So there are cons, like it can take a bit more time, but I think we can ignore that cons as well, because there are more benefits than having the disadvantages. And also we are pretty close or at the end of the talk. So as I work at mobility, we are also hiring a lot of people. You can go to the website and see our career page, and also you can ping me or send me your CV so that I can refer to our company. And of course a little bit about me, I also write blogs. You can also try to follow me on dev.to, though I'm not very active there. If you wish, you can. Then also this is my dev.to blog URL, and also my Twitter. If you have anything, please reach out to me. You can message me anything for test containers. I will try to answer if I know, or at least I will try to point out to the document where the details can be there. And of course there will be some more talks or information on web, on also YouTube. I hope you liked the talk. Thanks everyone. See you probably in some other places of the world.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Sorry, unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I can invite you to the discussion room. Maybe our participants have some questions about your speech. Thank you a lot.